All right, let's kick things off. Today, we're jumping into a pretty high-stakes mission, deep inside the world of corporate finance. Our goal? To figure out how in the world auditors prove that one of the biggest, most complicated numbers on a company's books, their physical stuff, is actually real.
I mean, this is the big question, right? It's one thing to see a number on a spreadsheet, but it's another thing entirely to prove that a massive factory or a whole fleet of trucks is not only there, but that it's also worth what the company says it's worth. This is a hunt for financial truth.
So, to even begin a quest like this, we've got to understand what we're looking for, what the target is, and, just how big the risks are. So let's get into it.
Okay, so the official accounting term is property, plant, and equipment, or just PPE for short. The easiest way to think about it is it's the physical foundation of the business. It's the land the factory sits on, the building itself, and every single machine whirring away inside. It's all the stuff you can physically touch, and believe me, it's almost always a huge number. And when I say huge, I really mean it. For a big corporation, you could easily be looking at something like $25 billion. Getting a number like that wrong isn't just a small typo. It can seriously mislead investors and cover up some massive, massive problems. The stakes here are incredibly high. And here's where it gets tricky. This isn't about simple math. The real challenge for an auditor is navigating all these gray areas. How long is a machine really going to last? Is that half-built factory still a good investment, or has it become a total money pit? Deciding if a cost is a long-term investment or just a quick repair, well, that takes a lot of judgment. And these are the exact spots where multi-million-dollar mistakes can get buried.
Just like any good detective, an auditor doesn't just show up at the factory on day one. Nope. The investigation starts with the paperwork. You have to follow the paper trail to really get the story of what's been going on all year.
So when you're auditing PPE, everything really comes down to two key documents. On one hand, you've got the map. That's the PPE movement schedule. It gives you the big picture story for the year. And on the other hand, you have the detailed inventory, the fixed asset register, or FAR. This thing lists out every single asset, right down to the serial number and where it's supposed to be. And here is the absolute key. The map and the inventory have to line up perfectly. I mean, down to the dollar. If that high-level summary doesn't match the detailed list, that is an immediate red flag. It tells the auditor something's fishy with the company's records, and it's time to start digging a lot deeper.
Look, you can't just audit a $25 billion number in one go. It's impossible. So auditors fall back on a classic strategy: divide and conquer. They take that massive, overwhelming number and they break it into smaller, more manageable investigations. They slice it up into these different lines of inquiry. They'll look at what was bought during the year, what was sold or thrown out, how things lose value over time. You get the idea. But take a look at the one that's highlighted there: assets under construction. This is very often the highest risk piece of the whole puzzle. It's full of estimates, long timelines, and just has so much potential for things to go wrong. Okay, so the paperwork's been reviewed, the strategy is all set. Now it's time to get out of the conference room and put some boots on the ground. This is where the real detective work, the real verification, actually happens. This is the question everybody wants to know, right? And it's not about sitting in a dusty room just ticking boxes. It's about getting out there and gathering concrete, real-world evidence. So let's look at a couple of cases to see exactly how they do it. Okay, case file number 1, a new machine. Pretty straightforward. The auditor starts with a lead, just picks an item from the list of new stuff the company bought. Then they gather the evidence, the invoice, the purchase order. They interview the cost to make sure it's a real long-term asset and not just a simple repair they're trying to sneak in. And finally, they verify it's all logged correctly in that master inventory. See, every step connects the paper trail back to something real. But now, for that high-risk case, the half-built factory. This is a whole different level of investigation. The auditor builds a complete dossier on the project. They'll bring in an expert witness, like the project engineer, to get a certificate confirming the progress. And they are actively hunting for clues and red flags, like a project that's been sitting there stalled for 2 years with nothing happening. That's a huge sign that millions of dollars might need to be written off as a loss. And the last piece of this puzzle is what I like to call the physical showdown. This is where the auditor is literally walking the factory floor with that detailed inventory list in hand. First question, is the asset even here? Does it exist? Second, what's its condition?
A machine that's covered in rust and sitting in a corner is a giant red flag for impairment, meaning it might not be worth nearly what the company says it is. They're matching serial numbers and, of course, investigating anything on the list that's just gone. So, after all the documents have been checked, all the numbers have been tested, and all the site visits are done, the auditor has to bring all these clues together. It's time to deliver the final verdict. The final report is basically the answer sheet for the whole investigation. Did the paperwork line up? Check. Were the new purchases legit? Check. Are those big construction projects still on track and valued correctly? It all leads to that one final, massive conclusion. Is that multi-billion-dollar number on the financial statements a fair statement of reality? And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. An audit isn't just some boring math exercise. It's a structured quest for the truth, making sure that the numbers you see on a page actually reflect what's happening in the real world, from the factory floor all the way to the bottom line.